Reading is one of the most important things that you can do with your child. And it's important to remember that children can enjoy books long before they're able to read. A love of reading usually results in a lifelong love of learning, and that's ultimately the goal. That's where we want to get to. And children, we know that children who are read to regularly often achieve higher results. Interestingly, not only on their early literacy skills, but also on their early numeracy and math skills on school readiness assessments. And of course, if a child already achieves higher results at school readiness, the chances are that they're going to be achieving higher throughout their school career. What's very interesting is that these results have been found to be completely unrelated to a child's family background or to their home environment, to their income level. It's a direct result of just being read to on a regular basis. So let's look at why you should be reading to your child and your baby. What are the benefits? Firstly, it promotes bonding. There's nothing quite like that quiet little cuddle time before bed when mom or dad reads you a story. And this is especially true when children hit that busy toddler age. They're all over the show, they're busy, they're moving the whole day long. So being able to read a book together is a couple of precious moments maybe in a busy day. It helps to build their vocabulary. And we know that the more words children know, the better they communicate, the better they understand, and the better they do when they start school. It also expands their knowledge of the world, so they're reading and they're learning about things and people and places and customs. It helps to develop their listening skills, and related to that, it helps to build that concentration a little bit. It also helps them to develop thinking skills. For instance, when your child reads a story, they start to understand about cause and effect. They start to try and predict what's going to be happening next in the story, and they also learn to draw conclusions from what's already happened. When you're associating with a character, it might also help prepare your child for new experiences or things that they're a little bit nervous about. For instance, when a child is about to go to hospital for the first time, or start school, or need to move house into a different environment, they can learn through the experiences of the character in the book. Because they're going to be living that character's life with him, thinking his thoughts, feeling his feelings, grappling with his dilemmas. And that's also a very good way to try and build empathy and have children understand what it's like to be in someone else's shoes. Not only does reading enrich our minds, but it also provides one of the easiest and the most accessible ways to relax and to enjoy some leisure time. I always tell the kids in my practice that it's the easiest and the cheapest way to go on a little mini holiday in your mind. There definitely is a how-to when it comes to reading with your child, and some of these strategies might help just make it a little bit easier from the beginning. The absolute key to reading with your child is that it has to be pleasurable. If you're both enjoying it, if it's a fun thing to look forward to, your child is going to develop a love of reading. So important to choose a right time when you're both relaxed, you're both in a good mindset. Reading should never ever be a chore. Always make sure that you choose books that are age appropriate. The younger the child, the more illustrations, the brighter, more colorful the pictures you want to be. And with little ones, I find from baby, the best way to do it is to actually have them sit on your lap. So when you have the book in front of you and you're both facing it, we've got something that we call joint attention. So you're both paying attention to the same thing at the same time, and that also provides a nice little place to cuddle and to squeeze each other. Initially, when babies are very little, you might really just want to be pointing to the pictures, maybe just identifying the objects in the book. Very important sometimes to just read the book on your own before you try and read it with your child, and that way you can just summarize the story if you find that it's very difficult for them to pay attention for so long. Or perhaps read a part of the story and put it away for the next evening when you get to the next section. Allow your child to touch the book. This might be difficult for some of us who are very precious about books and love our books, but having to just sit and watch you read really is no fun. Remember that paging is quite a difficult motor task, so your child has to get all those little small muscles in the fingers to work together and then to get the coordination right to turn the page. So you might initially want to choose board books, not only because it will spare the pages from being torn, but also because it'll make it easier for your child to turn the page. You also want to encourage pretend reading when they're sitting with a book and they're just reading, but it's not what's really going on in the story. Even if the book is upside down, don't interfere. Let them enjoy that moment. Reading techniques, voice projection, very, very important. Pay attention to punctuation, parents. Change your voice for the different characters. Try and draw them in, and you can use things like staged whispers. Oh, my goodness, what do you think is going to happen next? And ask them questions. Why do you think the bear did that? What's going to happen to the mouse now? Also try and run your finger under the text while you're reading, because that will help your child to understand that the symbols on the page actually represent words, and also that we read from left to right. You might want to be prepared to read your favorite book over and over and over. Could be very boring for parents, but obviously if your child is asking you to read the same story over and over, there's something in that story that elicits real pleasure in your child. They love it for a reason, and that also gives you some insight maybe into their developing interests and what those are going to be. When you read yourself, it will encourage your children to want to read. And you want to also keep reading with them long after they've learned to read by themselves, because when you read about things that they're interested in, but are maybe beyond their reading level, you're helping them to stretch their understanding and you motivate them to improve their own reading skills. Try and read a variety of texts. Storybooks are always a favorite, but try and include some information books, some leaflets, magazines, comic books, even newspaper articles if you find something that's interesting to your child. And lastly, read as often as possible. It shouldn't be a chore, it shouldn't be something that you have to do every night, but if you have a constant routine, like after bedtime, after bath time, mommy always reads a story, that will just help to make sure that it happens on a regular basis.